Welcome to Moonlit Storykeeper. If quiet journeys like this help you relax, you're warmly invited to subscribe and return for a new story each week. Tonight, we are travelling beyond a sleeping village to a library that appears only beneath the full moon. Settle in, let the day grow quiet, and simply listen. Tonight there is nowhere you need to be. No appointment waits beyond the next hour. No unfinished task is asking for your attention. The day has already carried all that it could carry, and now it may be set down, gently, like a coat placed over the back of a chair. For a little while you can simply listen. Imagine that you are walking along a quiet road beneath a full moon. It is an old road, pale with dust and softened at its edges by grass. During the day, carts and bicycles may pass this way, but tonight it belongs only to the silver light, the distant fields, and the unhurried rhythm of your footsteps. Behind you rests a small village. Its windows are dark now, except for one warm square of light above a bakery where the ovens are cooling for the night. Somewhere, a clock has recently struck 11. You heard each note drift over the rooftops and dissolve into the open air. Ahead, the road curves between two low hills. You have been told that there is nothing beyond those hills but orchards, an abandoned well, and a forest too small to appear on most maps. Yet the innkeeper who gave you your room mentioned something else before wishing you good night. She spoke of a path that could not be found in daylight. It appeared, she said, only when the moon was full and the air was clear. It did not lead to another village or to a house. It led to a library. When you asked what kind of library would hide itself from the sun, the innkeeper smiled as if she had expected the question. "The kind that keeps what people have forgotten," she said. And then she returned to folding the linen napkins beside the fire. You did not intend to search for it. At least, that is what you told yourself as you climbed the narrow stairs to your room. But the night was calm, the moon was bright, and sleep did not come immediately. So, you put on your coat, stepped quietly through the empty hall, and followed the old road out of the village. Now, as you reached the first hill, you noticed something that was not visible before. To the left of the road, moonlight lies across the grass in a single clear ribbon. The silver strip continues between the trees, though no ordinary path seems to be there. No stones mark its entrance, no sign points the way. The grass simply bends in one direction, as if a traveller had passed a moment earlier. You pause and listen. There is no warning in the night, only leaves stirring softly, the faint movement of water somewhere in the dark, and the low, familiar song of insects among the fields. The path seems neither secretive nor strange, it seems patient. And so you step from the road and follow it. The grass is cool beneath your shoes. It carries the clean scent of evening rain, although no rain has fallen since morning. On either side of the path, small white flowers turn their faces toward the moon. You walk without hurry. The village disappears behind the hill, and with it the last reminders of the day, the clock tower, the inn, the folded map in your coat pocket. Ahead, the trees grow closer together, their branches forming a high arch above you. The forest is not silent, quiet places rarely are. You hear the careful rustle of a small animal beneath the ferns. A drop of water falls from one leaf to another. An owl calls once from far away, then waits, as if listening for an answer that may arrive much later. The moonlit path continues between tall trunks of ash and beech. Their bark appears almost white in places. Their roots rise from the earth like the worn steps of an ancient staircase, and you place your feet carefully between them. Soon you reach the abandoned well the innkeeper described. It stands in a round clearing, built from smooth grey stones. A wooden beam still crosses the top, though the rope and bucket are gone. You lean near enough to look inside. There is no dark shaft beneath the stones. Instead, the well is filled with moonlight. The pale glow rests inside it like still water, bright enough to illuminate the tiny ferns growing between the stones. For a moment you see your own reflection there, not clearly but gently, as if the light remembers only the calmest version of your face. Then a breeze moves through the clearing and the reflection fades. Beyond the well, the path divides. The right-hand trail is an ordinary forest track. It is dark, scattered with dry leaves, and marked by the small prints of deer. The left-hand trail is barely a trail at all, but the white flowers continue beside it, and their petals shine under the moon. You choose the left. With every step, the forest seems to become older. The trees widen. Moss covers fallen stones whose shapes suggest the foundations of walls. Here and there you notice carvings on the trunks. An open book, a crescent moon, a small key. None of the carvings look recent, yet their edges are clean. After some time, the ground begins to rise. You climb slowly, following a series of shallow stone steps. The air changes as you ascend. It grows warmer, carrying the scent of cedarwood, dust, and something faintly sweet, perhaps dried apples or old paper. At the top of the steps stands an iron gate. It is already open. Beyond it, in a hollow surrounded by trees, you see a building larger than any you expected to find here. Its roof is made of dark slate. Narrow towers rise at each corner, and hundreds of windows glow with amber light. The walls seem to have been built from the same grey stone as the well, though vines cover much of them. Above the entrance hangs no name. There is only the carved image of a crescent moon resting across an open page. As you approach, the great wooden doors open without a sound. Warm light spreads across the steps. And from somewhere inside comes the quiet turning of a page. The entrance hall is round and high. Shelves rise from floor to ceiling, reached by narrow balconies and curling staircases. Small lamps stand in alcoves along the walls. Their flames do not flicker, even when the doors close behind you. The floor is patterned with circles of dark wood and pale stone. At the centre rests a long table with a single open book. Behind it sits a woman with silver hair tied loosely at the back of her neck. She wears a dark blue coat with deep pockets and a narrow ribbon at the collar. A pair of spectacles rests low on her nose as she writes in the book. She finishes the line before looking up. "You found the path," she says. Her voice is quiet, but it travels easily through the hall. You tell her that the path seemed to find you. That is usually how it happens. She closes the book, marking her place with a silver thread. When she stands, you notice that the enormous volume contains no printed title. Its pages are filled with names, dates, weather, phases of the moon, and notes written in different colours of ink. The woman introduces herself as Eliane, one of the keepers of the library. You glance toward the balconies and the distant staircases. One of them? A place this size has many rooms, she says, and not all of them keep the same hours. She comes around the table and accepts your coat. Instead of hanging it on a hook, she places it over the back of a wooden chair beside a small stove. The ordinary gesture makes the vast hall feel unexpectedly welcoming. On a side table rests a blue ceramic pot, 2 cups, and a plate of thin biscuits. Elian pours tea without asking whether you would like any, but the cup she hands you is warm and smells of mint and honey. Travellers often arrive cold, she says. You ask whether the library truly keeps forgotten things. Elian considers the question. Not everything that is forgotten is lost, she says at last. Some things simply need a quiet place to wait. She gestures toward the nearest shelves. The books there are unlike those in ordinary libraries. Some are bound in leather, some in cloth, and some in materials you cannot name. One has a cover the colour of rain. Another seems to have been made from thin pieces of polished wood. A very small book is wrapped in a faded handkerchief. None have titles on their spines. What is written in them, you ask? A morning someone believed they had forgotten. The sound of a particular door. The route home from a school that no longer exists. Recipes made without measurements. Songs whose final verses disappeared. The exact blue of a room at dusk. Elian smiles. Small things, mostly. The world is very good at remembering kings, storms, inventions, and endings. We look after some of what falls between. You take another sip of tea. The warmth travels through your hands and settles in your shoulders. For the first time since leaving the village, you notice that you are tired. Not unpleasantly tired, but softly so, as if your body has remembered that the night is meant for rest. Elian picks up a lamp from the table. Would you like to see a few rooms? You nod. She leads you beneath an archway and into the library. The first corridor is lined with tall windows. Outside, the moon rests above the forest, unchanged, although you feel that you have been inside for some time. Elian explains that the library follows the moon rather than the clock. Here, a night can make space for everything it needs. At the end of the corridor, she opens a green door. Morning light waits on the other side. It is not the sharp light of noon or the golden spectacle of sunrise. It is the quiet grey-blue light that enters a kitchen before anyone else is awake. The room beyond the door is filled with long, low shelves. Each shelf holds rows of simple books. The air smells of coffee, soap, warm bread, and clean cotton. The room of ordinary mornings, Elian says. You step inside. Somewhere, a kettle begins to hum. From another direction comes the sound of curtains being drawn apart. Floorboards creak beneath invisible footsteps. A spoon touches the side of a cup. The sounds do not belong to one house. They are fragments from thousands of mornings, gathered without confusion. Each remains separate, yet together they form a gentle rhythm. Elian selects a book bound in yellow cloth and places it on a reading stand. When she opens it, the room changes. You are still standing beside the shelves, but you can also sense a small apartment overlooking a harbour. Rain marks the windows. An elderly man is preparing breakfast before opening his repair shop. He cuts an apple into careful pieces and leaves one piece on a blue plate for a bird that visits the sill. Nothing important happens. The man makes tea. He checks the rain. He winds a clock that has been losing 3 minutes every week for 30 years. When the bird arrives, he greets it by a different name from the one he used yesterday. The scene lasts only a few moments. Then the page settles, and you are fully back in the library. Whose memory was that, you ask? No single person's, Elian replies. Memories change hands. The man remembered the bird. A neighbour remembered the blue plate. An apprentice remembered the clock. The book gave them one room, in which to remain together. You walk farther among the shelves. Another open volume carries the scent of oranges and sea air. One contains the feeling of waking beneath a heavy quilt while snow presses against the window. A narrow book holds only the repeated sound of a parent moving quietly through a hallway so as not to wake the children. You begin to understand why the books have no titles. A title would make each memory smaller. It would tell you what to notice before you had time to notice anything for yourself. Near the final shelf, you find a book with a pale linen cover. It feels familiar beneath your fingers, though you cannot say why. You do not open it. Tonight, it is enough to know that such a book might exist. Elian does not ask what you felt. She simply leads you back into the moonlit corridor and closes the green door behind you. The next staircase spirals downward, although the library appeared to have no lower floor when you saw it from outside. The walls along the stairs are covered with maps. Some show coastlines that no longer exist. Some trace footpaths through vanished orchards. Others depict imaginary islands with practical details. Wells, bridges, bakeries, sheltered places to sleep. At the bottom, the staircase opens into a gallery beneath a ceiling painted like the night sky. Long tables fill the room. Unfinished maps lie across them, held flat by smooth stones, brass compasses, shells and cups filled with pencils. Why are they unfinished, you ask? Because not every journey reaches the place it expected, Elian says, and because some maps are meant to leave room. She points to a map of a city drawn in faded red ink. Streets curve around courtyards and fountains. Small notes appear in the margins. Here was a tailor who sang while he worked. This wall stayed warm after sunset. The shortest route was not the kindest one. You follow the streets with your eyes until they end at an empty corner of the page. Beside that map lies another simpler one. A country road, a river, 3 farms, and a railway station. A dotted line shows the daily walk of someone who carried letters between the station and the farms. In winter, the route crossed the frozen field. In spring, it followed higher ground beside the river. The map records no great expedition. It preserves the knowledge of where mud gathered after rain, which gate was difficult to open, and which house left a lantern burning when the evening train was late. You move slowly from table to table. Here is the path through a grandmother's garden, drawn from the height of a small child. Here is the arrangement of chairs in a cafe where friends met every Thursday. Here is a map of the stars as seen from the deck of a fishing boat, with a circle around the constellation that guided the crew home. At the far end of the gallery stands an empty table. A blank sheet of paper waits there along with a pencil. Elian places the lamp beside it. Everyone has a map they carry without knowing, she says. You think of the village behind the hill. You think of the room at the inn, the cooling bakery, the road that seemed ordinary until moonlight revealed another direction. You pick up the pencil. Without deciding what you will draw, you make a short line across the paper. It becomes the road. You add the 2 hills, the edge of the forest, and the round clearing with the well. You draw the silver path as lightly as you can. When you reach the place where the library should be, you stop. The pencil point rests above the page. Then you draw only a small crescent moon. Elian nods as though this is enough. You leave the map unfinished on the table. From the gallery, you pass through a narrow passage where the walls are lined with dark felt. Your footsteps become quieter. Even the flame inside Elian's lamp seems to make less sound. At the end of the passage is a workshop. Hundreds of small wooden drawers cover the walls. Glass jars stand on the shelves, each sealed with wax. Fine silver instruments rest on the work tables. Funnels, tuning forks, tiny bells, and devices shaped like mechanical flowers. An old phonograph turns slowly in the corner, though no record lies upon it. Books are not the only things we keep, Elian says. She opens one of the drawers and removes a round tin. A handwritten label on its lid reads, "Rain on the roof of the final tram depot, early autumn." When she lifts the lid, you hear rain. It falls lightly on sheets of metal. Somewhere beneath it, a worker rolls a door shut. A tram bell rings once far along the empty track. Then the rain continues alone. Elian closes the tin and the workshop becomes quiet again. From another drawer, she takes a small blue bottle. Inside it is the sound of skates crossing a frozen pond. A glass jar contains chairs being arranged before a village concert. A paper envelope holds the soft thump of books returned through a library slot after closing time. You listen to a market being assembled before dawn, canvas unfolding, wooden crates touching stone, the first greeting between two merchants. You hear a loom working in an upstairs room. You hear wind passing through a row of bottles on a garden wall. None of the sounds are performed for an audience. That is what makes them feel so near. They were simply part of a day. At a central table, an instrument with a wide brass horn waits beneath a cloth. This one receives sounds, Elian explains. If there is something you are afraid you may forget, you can speak it here. You consider the invitation. Many sounds come to mind, but most are not truly lost. You can still remember them when you are quiet enough. A familiar laugh, a key turning in a lock, wind at an open window, the particular rhythm of footsteps approaching a room. You lean toward the brass horn, but you do not speak. Instead, you listen to the library around you. Through the walls comes the faint movement of pages. Somewhere above, a ladder rolls along a rail. The stove in the entrance hall settles with a soft metallic sound. The building itself seems to breathe through its corridors. "May I leave this sound?" you ask. Elian smiles. The library already remembers itself, but it will be pleased that you listened. She covers the instrument again. As you leave the workshop, you become aware of your own breathing. It is quieter than before and slower. You do not try to change it. You simply notice the gentle space between one breath and the next. The library has no visible courtyard, yet Elian soon opens a glass door onto a garden. Moonlight rests on narrow paths of pale gravel. Lavender, rosemary, and night-blooming flowers grow in beds bordered by old bricks. Fruit trees stand between stone benches, their branches carrying blossoms and ripe fruit at the same time. Bookshelves rise among the trees. They are protected by small tiled roofs, though the air is dry and warm. Vines curl around the lower shelves. Moths drift near shaded lamps without touching the flames. In the centre of the garden is a circular pool. The water reflects the moon, but when you look closely, the reflection shows different phases at once. A thin crescent near the edge, a half moon beneath the lilies, and the full silver circle at the centre. Elian sits on a bench beneath a pear tree and invites you to rest. For a while, neither of you speaks. The gravel path holds the fading warmth of the day. Leaves move above you. Somewhere among the shelves, water turns a small wooden wheel. You realise that every room so far has asked you to notice something. An ordinary morning, an unfinished route, a sound almost forgotten. The garden asks nothing. It allows the memories to settle without arranging them. Elian takes a pear from the tree and cuts it into 2 pieces with a small knife from her pocket. She offers you half. It tastes cool and sweet. Do the books ever leave? You ask. Sometimes, she says. When a memory is needed again, a book may find its way back into the world. How? As a dream, a sudden scent, a tune someone begins humming without knowing where they learned it, a story told to a child that turns out to be older than the person telling it. She looks toward the shelves among the trees. Most memories do not return exactly as they arrived. That is not a failure. Living things rarely remain unchanged. You consider the unfinished map downstairs. Perhaps another traveller will find it one night and add a bridge, a star, or a road that you did not see. The thought does not trouble you. From the pool comes a small ripple, though there is no wind. The reflected moons blur into rings of silver and slowly become clear again. Your eyes feel heavy now. The bench supports your back. The garden is warm. The library surrounds it on every side, its illuminated windows rising above the trees like a quiet city. You could remain here for hours. Perhaps you do. Time has become difficult to measure, and there is no reason to measure it. Eventually, Elian stands and lifts the lamp. There is one more room, she says, but only if you wish to see it. You follow her. The final room is small. After the endless shelves, galleries, and staircases, its simplicity surprises you. There is a fireplace, 2 armchairs, a round rug, and a single bookcase. A curtain covers the only window. On a table beside one chair rests a book with a pale linen cover. It is the same book you noticed in the room of ordinary mornings. Elian places the lamp on the mantel and tends the fire. The flames are low, giving more warmth than light. This room does not show the same book to everyone, she says. You sit in the armchair. The book lies within reach, but you hesitate before touching it. What is inside? Something you have been carrying longer than you need to carry it tonight. Her words contain no command. You do not have to open the book. Outside the room, the library continues its quiet work. A page turns, a distant door closes. Then all is still. You place your hand on the linen cover. The book is warm. When you open it, you do not see a complete memory. There are no vivid pictures and no voice explaining what you should feel. There is only a familiar room at the end of a long day. Perhaps it is a room you once knew. Perhaps it is made from many rooms. A chair from one home, evening light from another, the sound of rain from a year you rarely think about. On a table rests something unfinished. It may be a letter, a plan, a conversation, or simply the idea that you should have done more before the day ended. The book does not ask you to finish it. Instead, the room within the page grows darker. Someone closes the curtains. The unfinished thing remains safely on the table. A lamp is turned off. Nothing is solved, but nothing is lost. Morning will know where to find it. You turn the page. Now there is a path beside water. You are walking without luggage. The sky is pale and the surface of the water is smooth. With each step, something you have been holding becomes lighter. Not forgotten, not erased, simply placed where it no longer needs your strength. You turn another page. It is blank. At first, you think the book has ended. Then a line of writing appears slowly across the paper. You may leave the day here. The sentence remains for a moment and then fades. You close the book. Elian is seated in the other chair, watching the fire rather than you. She gives you the privacy of not asking what you saw. Will the book keep it, you ask? Only for the night, she says. In the morning, you may need some of it again, but it will return in a shape you can carry. You rest your head against the chair. The fire lowers. The room softens at its edges. The pale book remains beneath your hand, steady and quiet. For several minutes, or perhaps much longer, you sit without speaking. There is nowhere else you need to be. When you open your eyes, the fire has become a bed of red embers. Elian stands beside the curtained window. A thin line of blue light appears around its edges. The moon is lowering, she says. You rise slowly. The tiredness remains, but it is now a comfortable weight, drawing you toward rest rather than away from it. The pale book is no longer on the table. You do not ask where it went. Elian leads you back through the library. The rooms are closing for the night, or perhaps for the day. In the garden, the lamps dim among the trees. The glass door settles into its frame. In the workshop, the phonograph has stopped turning. Down in the map gallery, pencils roll gently into wooden trays. You pass the green door of the room of ordinary mornings. From behind it comes the faintest sound of a kettle beginning to warm. The entrance hall looks just as it did when you arrived. Your coat waits beside the stove. The blue teapot is still warm. Elian opens the great book at the central table. On a new line, she writes the date, the condition of the sky, and your name. Then she adds a short note that you cannot quite read from where you stand. What did you write? That the path was found, she says. She returns your coat. In one pocket, you discover a smooth grey stone from the unfinished map gallery. You are certain you did not place it there. Does this mean I can return? You ask. The stone means only that you have been somewhere, Elian replies. Returning is a different kind of journey. At the doors, you look back. Balconies rise through amber light. Staircases curve toward rooms you did not visit. There must be thousands of books you will never open, memories you will never know, and sounds that will remain safely sealed in their jars. This no longer feels like something you have missed. It feels reassuring that the library is larger than one night. Elian raises a hand in farewell. The doors close gently behind you. Outside, the moon hangs just above the trees. The eastern sky has begun to lighten, though the stars are still visible. You descend the stone steps. When you pass through the iron gate, you hear a sound like a page turning behind you. You look back once. The library is still there, its windows warm among the trees. Then a branch moves across the moon. For the briefest moment, silver light leaves the hollow. When it returns, there are only trees. The path back through the forest is easy to follow. You do not need the white flowers now. You recognize the wide roots, the pale trunks, and the places where the earth rises beneath the moss. At the abandoned well, the moonlight inside has grown faint. You look down and see no reflection, only a circle of ordinary darkness and a single star mirrored far below. You continue between the hills. The village appears gradually. First the clock tower, then the chimneys, then the roofs gathered close together against the morning air. The bakery window is dark. Soon the baker will descend, stir the ovens, and begin the first quiet work of the day. But not yet. For a few more minutes, the village remains asleep. You follow the empty road to the inn. The door opens with the same soft click you remember. Inside, the fire has gone out, and the folded napkins remain beside the hearth. On the desk lies a small note in the innkeeper's handwriting. "I hope you found what was waiting." You smile, leave the note where it is, and climb the narrow stairs. Your room is cool and dim. Moonlight still touches the edge of the bed. You place the grey stone on the bedside table, remove your coat, and lie down beneath the blankets. The pillow welcomes the weight of your head. Outside, the final night sounds move through the village. A distant bird shifts beneath the eaves. Wind passes once along the roof. Somewhere water travels through an old pipe and becomes still again. You think of the library beneath the moon. You think of the man preparing an apple for the bird, the unfinished maps, the rain inside the little round tin, and the garden where different moons rested together on the water. You think of the pale book and the unfinished thing left safely on the table. Morning will know where to find it. There is nothing more you need to remember tonight. The road is quiet. The forest is quiet. The library has closed its doors and settled beneath the trees. Its books rest on their shelves. Its maps wait beneath smooth stones. Its small and ordinary memories are safe. And the day you carried for so long has also been set down. You may allow your breathing to find its own slow rhythm. You may notice the comfortable darkness behind your closed eyes. There is nowhere else you need to go. Nothing else you need to finish. For now, the night is holding everything. And you can rest. Thank you for spending this quiet time with Moonlit Storykeeper. If you're still awake, you can subscribe for another story next week. For now, there is nothing more you need to do. Good night.